Hello everyone, welcome to Anime Know Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. During his heyday, Silver's Rayleigh was not only just a powerful swordsman, but he was also considered to be as powerful as his captain, Gol D. Roger, our former king of the pirates. Now, although we've heard about Rayleigh's title through multiple characters, but it has never been revealed to us why he has this somewhat flashy title of the Dark King. So in today's video, we're going to talk about why Rayleigh may have been called the Dark King, what relationship this title may have with his swordsmanship skills, and we're also going to talk about how strong Rayleigh was in the past. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel, or even if you've watched a bunch of our videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you'd leave us a like, and even subscribe, and maybe leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out, especially with that old YouTube algorithm, and it keeps motivating us to make more content. And if you'd like to help out the channel in a bigger way, consider sharing this video or another one of your favorites with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So my friends, as we know, most of the powerful characters in the work of One Piece have a title that is related to some characteristic of that character, such as appearance, things that they've done around the world, or even some unique special technique that makes them recognized worldwide. For example, Mihawk has the title of Hawkeyes because his vision is highly advanced, and it might even be possible that he can see at a distance beyond the regular human eye. In addition to also that his eyes really look different than other human eyes and do resemble that of a hawk. We've also seen with Garp and Kobe that they are known as heroes of the Navy, and it's not because of a physical characteristic or a special technique they have, but because of some deed in the past that made them possibly recognized with that title, which makes them very important in the Marine organization. Now, although it's very clear in certain parts of the story why certain titles were earned by a certain character or what they had to do in order to receive it, others are a bit more vague or even enigmatic to know why this character earned that title. And this is what brings us the case of Silver's Rayleigh, who is known as the Dark King. Now, this is a somewhat flashy title, but it also opens up as many possibilities for this character on how they managed to obtain this very title. I mean, if you think about it, the title of Dark King would fit someone like Teach much better, most especially for the fact that he has the power of the Darkness Fruit. But as we know, Rayleigh doesn't have any Devil Fruit powers at all, or at least not even some special ability that refers to darkness. He's simply a swordsman that was very well recognized in the past. So first, that could mean that his title could be related to his fighting style, which is of course with swords. Now, as was said by Kaido several times, Haki is capable of overcoming the power of Devil Fruit users, and is practically the absolute technique capable of making the user who manages to reach that maximum of that potential become the king of the world. So it's quite likely that Rayleigh holds the title of the Dark King because of his Haki that is extremely advanced, and the fact that he was even able to match his former captain, Gol D. Roger, known as the King of the Pirates. As we've seen much more recently in the story of One Piece, and mostly in the Wano arc, Haki was developed much better during that part of the story. And when two users of Conqueror's Haki collide, multiple black rays of lightning appear and shoot out between them. And it is from the impact of their Haki that these black and red rays shoot out and show that this is a clash of not just two fighters, but of two conquerors. So it could be that this darkness that they call him by could be related to the black lightning of his Conqueror's Haki, demonstrating that Rayleigh has a extremely advanced level of the technique. Now, of course, with Rayleigh combining this with his sword style, this would have made him to become extremely powerful. And something interesting to note is that Roger had an attack called the Divine Departure, which is capable of making a black cut capable of causing immense damage to his opponents. This could mean that Rayleigh has a very similar attack with much the same potential that will allow Rayleigh to be able to use his Haki and create Haki-based attacks on his opponents, which is a very differentiated way of combat. And even now, despite his advanced age, Rayleigh still manages to use his Haki exceptionally well, and is even able to face off against Kizaru in a brief exchange. Let's not forget that it was Rayleigh who was able to hold off the Admiral until the Straw Hats were able to escape. And this is of course after shortly being captured by the Marines because he just wasn't in his prime anymore, and also because of the numerical disadvantage. Now, going back to Rayleigh's immense mastery of Haki, and especially Conqueror's Haki, his skill level is revealed and shows that he is so skilled that he can render both a specific target or even crowds completely unconscious. And this was shown when he knocked out Shalaria right before disabling an entire room of hostiles. One of the other measures that's been stated is that Rayleigh's Conqueror's Haki was at least twice as potent as Luffy's at the time of Fishman Island, because he could have knocked out all of the 100 members of the new Fishman Pirates, as opposed to the Straw Hats because Luffy was only able to take out half of that, demonstrating a vast difference in power between the two. Now, despite the fact that Conqueror's hockey users can use a basic technique to knock out weak-minded people, Rayleigh is one of those few gifted people that's able to use the advanced applications of Conqueror's Haki, and he's able to infuse his body or even objects with Conqueror's Haki to increase his attack power. This is often represented in the manga by thin black lightning bolts that come away from his body during his strikes, something that is extremely characteristic of Conqueror's Haki when Oda draws it. And in addition, we've seen the red edges outlined in the black rays whenever we see a color spread or even when we see the manga translated into the anime. Now, it's not just Conqueror's Haki that Rayleigh is an expert at, because he's also an extremely gifted user of armament Haki. And this has allowed him to kick and redirect an attack from Kizaru with great ease, and he even managed to injure Luffy with a very simple attack. So he's able to imbue his Haki into certain parts of his body or even objects to harden, as we saw during his training with Luffy, where he was shown to be able to turn a simple stick into an extremely powerful weapon. We even saw a technique that, although we didn't understand at the time, we know to be another advanced application of this type of Haki, because Rayleigh was able to repel an injured giant elephant by just emitting his armament Haki without even needing to touch the animal. This was a foreshadowing of Ryo, that form of Haki that we learned about in Wano, where we could see that he is able to put Haki into his opponents or objects and let them destroy his opponent or objects from the inside out, which is very similar to how Luffy was able to increase his damage on Kaido's body once he learned about Ryo from Old Man Hyogoro. Now, on top of the mastery of the two Haki forms that I've already talked about, Rayleigh, of course, is also extremely skilled user of observation Haki, because he could sense that there were 500 creatures in Rusakaina that were stronger than Luffy before he started his training, and he used this to avoid an elephant's attack with his eyes closed. And the specific ways that Rayleigh can use his observation Haki probably go even further than that, because when he arrived on Amazon Lily, Rayleigh was able to sense that Luffy was on the island, and he also has the knowledge of the advanced application of this type of Haki, where high-level users can even predict the future, which has been called future sight. So as we can see, Rayleigh is a very, very powerful fighter, and his capabilities with Haki are really surprising, and he's also one of those responsible for training Shanks when the younger redhead was part of the Pirate King's crew. Now, although Shanks apparently managed to outsmart Rayleigh by learning even more powerful Haki techniques like his ability to nullify his enemy's observation Haki, even though this is something that Rayleigh hasn't demonstrated so far, we don't in fact know if Rayleigh actually was ever able to, because we just haven't explored how deep his power goes. But one of the things we do know is that we've seen in multiple locations in our story that Rayleigh has foreshadowed even greater abilities with Haki that we just hadn't learned about. So truly, there is no telling exactly how much Rayleigh knows, because we've never seen Rayleigh fight in the series, where he had to use all his strength to defeat some extremely powerful enemy. You see, his role within One Piece has been kind of similar to Shanks, although Rayleigh has a much more informative role and more of a greater mentor, while Shanks has the role of being just an imposing character and that X factor we've always wondered about. But now that we know that there are going to be some major conflicts in One Piece getting ready to start, Rayleigh could aim to participate in these conflicts to help the Straw Hats and their allies defeat more powerful enemies. And in that way, we might actually get to see Rayleigh use the full incredible mastery of Haki and sword to fight against these opponents, which would reveal his real strength, even though he still isn't at his peak. One of our other hopes is that we might even get flashbacks from Rayleigh, where we might get to see and learn a little bit more about major conflicts in the past, as in the confrontation against the Rock's pirates, which is now said to be the greatest conflict between Roger because he needed Garp to finally take out Rock's Zebek. So because we don't know much about what exactly happened during the God Valley incident, it doesn't rule out the possibility that Rayleigh may have had a hand in that fight. After all, he was the first character to be invited by Roger to his crew and became Roger's right hand. In all of the adventures and battle that Roger ever participated in, Rayleigh was always by his side supporting his captain. And this means that Rayleigh could have participated in that great conflict against these powerful ancient pirates. So if we ever do get a flashback that refers back to Rock's Zebek, it is going to make it even more likely that we'll get an explanation of not only who the pirate Zebek was, but we'll be shown Roger and Garp using all their strength and Rayleigh in his prime demonstrating why he had earned that title of the Dark King. So with all that said, my friends, we'd now love to know what you think about it. First of all, why do you think Rayleigh earned that epithet of the Dark King? Do you think it has to do with the Conqueror's Haki, or perhaps his armament Haki being just absolutely black and impenetrable? Or do you think that maybe he was the opposite to Roger's divine light? Secondly, what do you think we might learn if we get that epic flashback of what happened on God Valley? And how do you think Rayleigh contributed? Was Rayleigh one of the people that fought one of the other subordinates like Kaido or Big Mom or even Shiki? Or do you think he was right there with his captain and Garp taking on Rox Diesebag? Let us know what you think about that in the comments below. So as we wrap up our video today, we'd like to thank you all so much for watching, especially those of you who've made it here to the very end. Be sure to comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like and hit that subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. I can't wait to see you all in our next video. Let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.